this time to rethink about how we are organizing our life. So this was motivated because, I've learned a lot about Notion and how to use Notion using various experiments over the last, several months, trying out different things. And so now having a deeper understanding of how Notion works, I want to do something that's kind of more in line with my new way, my new mindset, my new vision of how I should be organizing things. Before, it was very much based off of, being someone migrating over from Evernote and having this very shallow, two-level mindset on how things worked. And so I created multiple different databases to do various tasks. You had projects and goals and, the calendar, the financial planner, a writing database, like all these different databases. And it turned out that not everything, the way it was set up, not everything can go into like my task stream system. And so I was finding that I had to, go to various different places in a day to find the things that I wanted to do. And so I want to streamline and not do that anymore and have everything live in a central place, which I'm calling the hub. And so all those different entities, whatever they are, you can think of them as projects, you can think of them as goals, whatever, but all those different entities now live in the hub. The other thing is that my task items would be, really kind of too small. And so what would happen is I would complete a task and then it would just sit around in perpetuity in my task stream. It would just not go away. And so it would be nice to have those go back into the project in which they're tied to. So it would be great to have those go back to the project that they're tied to. And so that thinking means that I really don't want to have tasks that are not related to something that's in the hub in some way, shape, or form. And if they are like something, kind of way off the side, like, call to make a hair appointment or something, then that's something I should just delete on completion. And this way, not filling up this kind of completed state in my task system. It became kind of overwhelming to manage because even if I'm not in a filtered view, that would all be there. And this time I really want to have that filtered down. So before I get started, I have started a Patreon channel. If you like the work that I do and you want to be supportive of me, I would appreciate contributions. And then also there are gifts. So anyone who is, helping to fund my efforts will get early access to my videos. And at higher levels, they will also get access to other details that may not be released on YouTube. So maybe special videos, definitely, templates. If there are templates that I create, those will be there. So it will encourage support of the work that I'm doing. And that being said, I'm also going to change the way that I am producing videos. So instead of doing a whole series and dropping it at one time, I'm going to be spacing that out, and so that I get things to you more often. As soon as they're ready, they will then be available for use. That being said, I do have a surprise next week of a very large series that I've dropped, and so it's a great time to offer your support and being able to see what I've got going on. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. And as I said, this is going to be a series. So as I'm creating the different types of things that will go into my hub, I will create the related template to that thing and create a video about how I do that. But for now, I'm going to start with something that's pretty common, pretty simple and straightforward, which is to do a client project. So let's go ahead and I'm going to create the task stream first. First, let's make these all into pages. Oops. And I'm going to do a board view. And then the properties that I'm going to have is going to be, I'm going to keep status. I'm going to change this to on hold. And I just want this to be all lowercase. Let's make this one green. Oops. And I'm also going to add the status add watch. I ended adding this during the year. Last year. It was very helpful because I do have projects where, you know, I've created a design and I'm waiting for that design to be reviewed. And I have this one project manager who I thought is very fabulous. She's also very much in demand. And so, you know, she'll have work that she wants done, and then I'll finish it, and then it'll just kind of be sitting around. If I don't remember that I'm waiting for her to review, then that could work and fall into a hole really quickly and sit there for a while. So at watch is a good place, or perhaps she's already seen it and we're waiting to show it to the client. So again, it's not completed, but I don't want it to be in the progress stream. And at hold is something that's really like, we're not sure we're going to be doing this, or is blocked from some reason. So at watch is basically like it's completed from my perspective, but still needs a couple steps to go through before I can actually mark it off as complete. And then maybe it even goes back to in progress. That is a thing that happens. All right. Here I'm going to change this to due date. And I'm going to add work on date. So this isn't changed from my old system. I like to put here's the absolute drop dead date of getting this task done, but then here's the day I'm going to work on it, and this value will change you know, according to need. So I might have assigned it to myself for a Wednesday, and then I come in on Wednesday and there are some design emergencies, which happen far too often in my opinion, because if we're planning well, there should be no design emergencies. And so I have to move it to a different date. Or in my goal planning, which will be actually the next video I'm going to do, I can actually assign to the week that I want to accomplish a goal, and then I come in on my Monday morning review and assign it to the day where I think it can fit in. All right, the other thing that I'm going to do is a URL. I'm going to do type, and I'm going to try to be consistent with my type between both the hub and the task stream. And the first two types I'm going to start off with is personal and work. And I actually want to change those colors around. And as I add more different types of things into the hub, I will also be adding different types here. So for instance, travel is going to be a thing that I do, and I've already mentioned goals. So those would be type travel or type event and type goal. But let's just start with work and personal. Those are definitely going to be the first, you know, things that we have here. Oh, and then there's one other thing that I want to play around with. I'm not sure if I'm going to use it yet, but it is easy enough to rip out the property if I don't want it, and that's to create some kind of tag system here. So a great example of tags is I actually want to start this year tracking the meetings that I have with both my delegates and also with my management. And so if I put a tag type meeting, it will help me to distinguish tasks that are work tasks but are type meeting. Okay. All right. Let's just delete these because we don't need them. All right, so now let's go in and let's go ahead and build out the hub. And I'm going to create this as a table. And by the way, if you've watched previous videos, what I used to do in the past is create the page and put a table inline on the page so that I could put other things on the page with the table. But in this case, in this system, I'm not going to do that. I want it to be very clean. So the table's going straight here. Okay, so let's actually start this with the template, because I know that all of my project templates are going to be the same thing, at least initially on setup. So let's go ahead and just build out both the properties and the template at the same time. And the statuses here are just going to be 2, on hold and complete. And then I'm going to have the type. And again, we're going to do it the same 2 types. And then we're going to go ahead and relate it to the task stream. Okay, so this is the basic layout I'm going to have for each page. So I've got space for the project information, notes, project stories. So anything that we did within the project that is, great, it solved the problem, it was innovative, what have you, that we might want to use for proposals for new projects. Helpful resources, and then here is where I'm going to have the task stream, and here, by the way, is where I'm going to have the note book. So any notes that are going to be just related to the project, I'll simply, create them here. I'll probably have just some wiki pages that go down for each note. But anything that goes across projects will be pulled in through this here. So let's go ahead and create the task. Oops. Put some instructions here. All right, so I want this to be in the list view, and I'm going to delete that other view. And then the properties that I'm going to want here are to show the date and the status. Right, and then I'm going to filter by filter by the hub type, but right now I'm just going to keep that as empty so that when I load the page, I don't have all of my tasks here because I obviously don't have, this is a template, so I don't have anything to relate here. But the other thing I'm going to filter it by is type is work, because they're all going to be work. And one of the nice things about the way, if you create a filter view of a table and you create an object in that table, it automatically applies the filter. So by doing that, it's automatically going to have that work type there. Okay. So let's get out of here. And before we do anything here, let's go ahead and create that note so that we can come back and have that in the template. And so notes is going to be very simple. It's just going to be name and tag. And let's create a note. So a good example of a note is right, so I have I have several projects with the same client, and so this branding guideline is something that would need to go across my different client projects, and so putting it here makes it universal. So let's go back to the hub, go back to that template, and let's go ahead and pull that in. Again, I want to view it as a list. Let's open this up so I can see what I'm doing here. I just do it by tag. All right, so the thing is that if I decide that I'm not going to have this related to a project, it's easier to delete it than it is to, to add it individually each time. All right, so let's go in and let's create a project. Just delete this extra stuff. And you see how it automatically took on the type work. And, I didn't delete that other view. And so see, I've been saying this, how if you create it, even though I was looking at the list view, it's doing this view because I did not delete the other view. So before I go further, because I don't want to forget that it's like that, let's go in and edit. And let's go and delete that original view. Okay. So how this is going to work is I'm going to create a task that needs to get done for this client. So let's go ahead first and fix this filter. Okay. And I'm going to create a new task, and let's say this one is let's just fix this property here while we're here. All right, so let's say this is due next week. I'm going to work on it today. And then this particular task is actually big, as I create a full experience. So there's going to be lots of activities that I'm going to do. So, I'm going to have some pathways documents that's going to tell me what the pages that are going to be. All right, so one of the things, like I said, I was doing these small tasks and they kind of would just fiddle away and disappear. But if I create everything within this task and archive, document it here for myself, then I have this available. I don't have to go searching for okay, what was the pathways, what was the concept pages. Even though we do have a repository for this stuff, that we share with everyone, this is going to be my record of the work that I've done so that I can keep track of what I had. And it might even be simply like linking to something that I've done, or it might be embedding something I've done, whatever it is that I decide to do here. But the point is that everything that's related to, this thing is going to be in here. All right. And then I will just change the date and change the status based off of what I'm working on. So once my pathways documents, for instance, are approved, then this goes back to an empty status and I'll start working on the next thing. I'm not going to create the individual thing. I want the whole record here for this. And then when it's done, when it's completed, I will just like take it out and move it here. And then I have that whole record here. It's not caught and sitting in that task stream for me to find later. It's living here. And I did my goals at the end of the year this way. And it was so helpful to see all my goals in one place. All right, let's go ahead and put that back. And for the notes now, we're going to filter by that org note, and then there it is. And then so any other notes that I have that are only related to this project, you know, I'll just do wiki-based pages here. So, you know, right? And then those would just like list down. Or if it's a really complicated project, then maybe I do create another database and they live in that database. Okay. So to finish this up for today, let's go ahead and put the view we need to have when we come in the morning, which is to see what tasks are up for the day. And I want to use the board view. So I do want to call it board view. I'll do that in a minute. I want this to group by status. And I don't need the work on date because that's going to be today or before today. But I will want the date due. I might say the hub is tied to. I don't need the URL. I don't need the tag. I don't need the status. So yeah, those two things. And let's go ahead and add a filter here. All right. So if you did watch my agenda series, you would have seen that I had this as a list and not a board, and I only showed, you know, what was for today. That didn't last me very long. That lasted maybe a couple weeks when I realized like I was having to make sure every day that if I didn't finish stuff that it got moved, and I didn't always have the time. Sometimes my day would end kind of abruptly and I'd have to go off to whatever else I was going to do offline. So doing it this way helps make sure that I don't have things caught in the back. I don't need to see the completed here. And I don't need to see what's on hold. I'll be able to see if there's anything in there by seeing the counts, but I don't actually need to see those in view. And then let's go ahead and add a calendar view. Which is nice because then I can also see where it falls on the calendar if I have many things going on. Okay, so that is my new system. As I said, in the next, time to come, I'm going to be adding different types of content to this hub and creating templates for how those work and videos to match. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and again, your support would be much appreciated. Please go ahead and support me on patreon.com/uxdiva. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.